Chief Sarka of the Valari clans had faced war, famine, and planetary collapse without flinching. But nothing prepared her for silence. The nursery cavern beneath the ice cliffs of Threx 9 was empty. No cries. No heat signatures. No familiar musk of fur and milk. Just overturned bedding and faint, unfamiliar tracks leading toward the surface. Sarka's claws dug into the frozen stone as she stood at the center of the chamber. Around her, elders and hunters murmured in rising panic. The Valari were a proud, furred species, large, powerful, and fiercely protective of their young. Cubs were guarded at all times. Except this cycle. Except during the gathering. They were here at dawn, one caretaker said, voice shaking. 6 cubs. All accounted for. Sarka lifted her head slowly. Who took the cubs? She demanded. No one answered. Because no one dared say the word forming in every mind. Humans. The humans had arrived on Threx 9 less than a season ago. Small. Soft-skinned. Wrapped in artificial warmth. They built their settlement near the geothermal vents, far from Valari territory, or so they believed. Sarka had permitted their presence cautiously. Humans were strange but generally respectful. They watched. They studied. They kept their distance. Until now. Scouts followed the tracks through the snowfields toward the human colony. The prints were unmistakable booted feet alongside smaller paw marks. Cubs. Alive. Sarka's chest tightened with a mix of relief and fury. She assembled a war party before the suns fully rose. We retrieve the cubs, she growled. And if the humans have harmed them. Her hunters bared their teeth in silent agreement. The human settlement was quiet when the Valari arrived. Too quiet. Buildings of metal and polymer steamed gently in the cold air. Solar panels glittered under pale sunlight. Sarka signaled her warriors to spread out. Bring them out, she commanded, her voice echoing across the camp. Now. Doors opened. Humans emerged slowly, hands raised, not in surrender, but calm. At their center stood a human female wearing a thick, fur-lined jacket. Her posture was steady, unafraid. I'm Commander Elena Hayes, the human said. You must be Chief Sarka. Sarka stepped forward, towering over her. Return my cubs, Sarka snarled. Commander Hayes nodded once. Of course. She turned slightly. And that was when Sarka felt something shift against her neck. A tiny weight. Warm. A soft squeak. Her ears twitched. Slowly, very slowly, Sarka reached up and touched the back of her ceremonial cloak. 6 small paws popped into view. Tiny. Furred. Pink pads visible against dark fabric. Her cubs. Clinging to her hood. Every single one. They raised their paws higher, as if proudly announcing themselves. Sarka froze. The entire war party went silent. The cubs chirped happily. One nuzzled into the thick fur lining of her hood. Another gnawed gently on the edge of her shoulder guard. Sarka's rage collapsed into pure, stunned confusion. How, she whispered, did you get there? Commander Hayes cleared her throat. They climbed. You're very warm. The cubs purred in agreement. Sarka carefully lowered her head, allowing the cubs to slide into her arms. She inspected them frantically, counting fingers, checking fur, searching for wounds. There were none. They were clean, fed, and wearing something. Tiny harnesses, carefully fitted. Small thermal wraps sewn from human materials. One cub even had a little pouch strapped across its chest. "What is this?" Sarkeye demanded. The cub wearing the pouch puffed out its chest. "Snacks," it chirped proudly. Commander Hayes sighed. "They wandered into our camp last night. Cold. Hungry. Curious. They tried to steal a power cell," another human added. Sarkeye stared down at her cubs. "You left the den," she said sharply. The smallest cub peeked up at her. "It was boring. And warm lights were blinking. And they smelled like cooked meat," another added. Sarkeye closed her eyes. The humans told their side. The cubs had appeared at the edge of the camp during the night storm. Shivering. Brave. Refusing to leave. "We didn't know where to return them," Commander Hayes explained. "Your territory markers don't translate well. And you didn't alert us." Sarkeye snapped. Hayes met her gaze. "We tried. But then they fell asleep." Sarkeye looked down. The cubs were, indeed, dozing now. Curled comfortably in her arms and hood, breathing in slow, even rhythms. "They climbed onto you earlier," Hayes added. "We thought, maybe they recognized you as safest." Sarkaye's throat tightened. Valari cubs did not cling to strangers. Unless they felt protected. Anger faded into something far more dangerous, doubt. Had the gathering left the cubs alone too long? Had tradition blinded them to change? Sarkeye gestured for the humans to lead them inside. What she saw unsettled her further. The humans had converted an entire structure into a temporary nursery. Heated floors. Soft padding. Food stations adjusted to cub size. Visual puzzles projected on the walls. "They were restless," Hayes said. "We figured stimulation would help." The cubs perked up immediately, scrambling down to show off. "Watch," one chirped, pressing a button that released floating lights. "We learned this game," another said, batting at a hologram. Sarkeye watched, heart pounding. They were not weakened. They were thriving. The Valari elders argued fiercely that night. "This is interference," one hissed. "This is improvement," another countered. Sarkeye listened in silence. Finally, she raised a claw. "Our cubs were safe," she said. "Federation protected. Enriched." And if the humans had chosen otherwise, an elder snapped. Sarkaye's gaze hardened. "They did not." She stood. "Tradition exists to protect our young. If it fails, it must change." Murmurs rippled through the council. Sarkeye turned to the humans. "You will return the cubs," she said. "But you will also teach." Commander Hayes blinked. "Teach what?" Sarkaye's ears flicked toward the cubs, now sleeping again, this time in a pile of mixed Valari fur and human jackets. "Whatever you did," Sarkeye said quietly, "that made them feel safe enough to climb into a chief's hood." Seasons passed. Human and Valari settlements grew closer, not in distance, but in trust. Nurseries were redesigned. Cubs learned hunting and problem-solving. They wore traditional fur cloaks, with human-made harnesses beneath. And sometimes, when Sarkeye walked the cliffs at night, she felt tiny paws tugging at her hood again. She no longer removed them. She let them ride. For the chief had learned something vital. Strength protected the cubs. But kindness made them fearless.